The G20 is done. All the fervor surrounding India's big international flex is now behind us. And even though that continues to be a big story, the next big stop is the special session of Parliament. The 1-week countdown has begun. Next Monday is when it opens. And I'm going to tell you about all the big theories that are out there over what precisely this new special session that's been called by the Modi government is all about. Because the truth is, viewer, most of the government doesn't really know. But we're still going to speculate, and I'm going to tell you the likelihood of a couple of new things that have come to our attention. I'm Shiv, this is 5 Live. These are the headlines. Tamil Nadu's ruling party continues its tirade against the Hindu religion. DMK MP A. Raja calls Hinduism a menace for the world, says Hinduism is synonymous with casteism. The Sanatana Dharma row escalates. Tamil Nadu minister says opposition has backed the Sanatan remark. BJP claims the India alliance formed to attack Sanatan Dharma. Protesters put shoes on Stalin's pictures as a protest. No relief for Telugu Desam Party chief Chandrababu Naidu. His plea for house arrest rejected. This after all top TDP leadership placed under house arrest following a statewide bandh in Andhra. Uddhav Thackeray drops massive Ayodhya Godhra parallel, says Ram temple may lead to Godhra-like incident, claims Ram devotees may face Godhra-like fate. Apple gears up for the biggest launch event of the year. The upcoming iPhone 15 launch becomes even more special for Indian users as for the first time, made in India iPhones will be launched. In 6 days from now, a mysterious special session of Parliament has been called by the Modi government. In 7 days from now, the country's brand new Parliament building will be in session for the first time. That is September the 19th is when the new building of Parliament that has been inaugurated earlier this year by the government, by the Prime Minister, will have all members of Parliament in it for the first time in an active session, even though this time it's a special session. It's the first time you will see all our members of Parliament inside that special session. But the point is, nobody, apart from the Prime Minister, perhaps the Home Minister, and maybe just a handful of others, actually knows what the agenda is for this special session. Viewer, the G20 is behind us, and now our focus shifts to domestic politics and specifically the special session of Parliament that comes up next Monday, that is September the 18th. So what is the agenda for this special session? You've already seen angry debates happen over why the opposition is being kept in the dark over this crucial issue. What is going to be discussed? What is the debate? Why this mystery? Why this suspense? Well, I cannot claim to know anything further than what most people do, especially at a time when most of the Modi government has no clue what the agenda is in this session. But there are, viewer, 6 key theories that are doing the rounds, including 2 additional ones that have just dropped that I'm going to be breaking down for you right here on 5 Live. Let's begin with some of those theories. I first want to list them all out for you, and then we'll talk about the likelihood or unlikelihood of each of them. Number 1 theory is uniform civil code. Now that's a buzz that's been doing the rounds for a long time. There's been a build-up as far as uniform civil code is concerned. So that becomes theory number 1. Theory number 2 is the women's reservation bill. This is also something that's come in for a lot of chatter. And there is an expectation that this might be a game-changer bill introduced by the government in this special session of Parliament. Theory number 3, the use of the word Bharat instead of India by the government in the run-up to and during the G20 has led to a great deal of speculation and political backlash over the use of Bharat by the government. The opposition says this is something that should not be done. So is India's name being changed to Bharat? As I've showed you on this show before, I don't think so, but that's one of the theories doing the rounds. Theory number 4, the one nation, one poll theory. Could a bill be introduced on one nation, one poll? Remember, the government has ordered a high-level panel to look at this issue headed by former President Ramnath Kovind. But that's also a theory doing the rounds. Very interesting new theories that have dropped now that I want to introduce to you is theory number 5, which is the OBC quota. Could there be a big announcement on OBC quota leading into election season in the big states and then 2024? That's a very, very big new theory that is now doing the rounds as far as the special session is concerned. And finally, theory number 6 is a long-expected bill on the criminal law overhaul. This was announced a few months ago by the government, new names, certain changes and upgrades to India's criminal procedure and Indian Penal Code. Will that also be a part of the special session? So all of these things have happened right now in terms of chatter, speculation, expectation, politics as well, but nobody knows. Let me categorically say that nobody knows for sure which one of them, or if any of them, are actually going to be part of this special session. Let's go to theory number 1. Uniform Civil Code is the first theory that has done the rounds. And I want to bring in India Today's Pallavi Saha, who's going to stay with me on this show to help me decide likely, unlikely, possible, very impossible. Those are the 4 words that Pallavi is going to use when she gives us her answer. Pallavi, Uniform Civil Code is perhaps one of the first things that came to people's minds as a theory when this special session was called. What are you hearing? Possible, not possible, unlikely? What are you hearing?
Unlikely is the word here, because I've spoken to my sources and those who are in the know of what this special session is about. And remember, Shiv, that there are only very few people right now within the government machinery who are fully aware as to what this special session of Parliament is about. And what they're telling me is that it's unlikely that the Uniform Civil Code bill will be presented before Parliament during the special session, which is to start on the 18th of September. What they're saying is that the 22nd Law Commission has solicited views from across stakeholders and sections of society and the public, and that process is underway, so it's unlikely that the special session is about UCC, Shiv. Okay,
very interesting. So, Pallavi says it's unlikely. Now let's go to theory number 2. Theory number 2 is the Women's Reservation Bill. Now, it's been a turbulent year so far, where the government has been put on the map, on a mat on different issues. The terrible things that have happened in Manipur and elsewhere have put the government on the back foot as far as women's safety is concerned. So there, one section believes that the Women's Reservation Bill could be a game-changer bill that is brought in during this session of Parliament, and it has been something that has been asked for a very, very long time, and it could, politically speaking, take the wind out of the opposition sails on the issue of, empowering women. Pallavi, Women's Reservation Bill also doing the rounds. What do you think?
Again, on that as well, unlikely was the word that was used as well with Women's Reservation Bill. Of course, it has picked up a lot of steam after Kavita, MLC from Telangana, and KCR's daughter picked it up as well. She's written to leaders of all political parties and urged them to include this in terms of their demands. Remember, because Sonia Gandhi wrote a charter of 9 demands to the Prime Minister saying these are the issues that should be discussing. Since you've not told us the agenda, here's what we think should be discussed. She did not name Women's Reservation Bill. Kavita wrote to all the political party leaders, including Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and said that please include Women's Reservation Bill. So there's a lot of chatter around Women's Reservation Bill, but again, very unlikely because the consensus within the BJP also is lacking as far as the 33% reservation for women is concerned in Parliament.
Okay, I'm very much enjoying this game of elimination that Pallavi and I are playing, because this narrows things down and gives our viewers a really, really nice and focused view before that special session starts. Pallavi, let's move to theory number 3 now. This is something that the government kicked up a real storm about. This was with the use of the word Bharat instead of India, whether it was G20 invitations, whether it was notifications used during the BRICS summit or the ASEAN summit, or during the G20 itself, where Bharat was the Prime Minister's nameplate. The buzz has been that is India going to change its name to Bharat? Is the government going to move a bill towards that? Poulomi, I personally don't think so. I think the government has just been trying to popularize the use of the word Bharat, and I don't think there's any official bill that is going to be moved as such. Is that what you're hearing as well?
Again, yes, that's exactly what, government sources are telling me as I'm speaking to them, whether that's possible. And they're saying, what sort of constitutional amendment are you speaking about? Because Bharat is there in the Constitution. Article 1 of the Constitution says India, that is Bharat. Could this be a switchover? Bharat, that is India? Again, the government, at least sources that I'm speaking to, doesn't feel the need so. What you've rightly said is that the government feels the need to popularize the usage of Bharat over India, and hence you saw a lot of it being used at the G20 summit, how the Prime Minister's name placard read, and otherwise as well throughout the summit in very little details. Instead of India, we used Bharat. But that is exactly what the government wants to do, give one more precedence over the other. But what they're saying is that we don't require a constitutional amendment for the same because it's already in the Constitution. But as we've discussed in the past, this was one of the theories that kind of picked up a lot of more steam than the others, simply because it was on the 18th of September, in the past, when in fact the Constituent Assembly debated the draft Constitution and adopted Article 1 of the Constitution, which again had debated a lot of variations for how we're going to refer to India or Bharat in the Article 1. And this is the date, 18th of September 2023, when indeed the new session, I beg your pardon, the special session of Parliament begins.
Okay, very interesting. 3 theories done, 3 to go, Poulomi. Let's go to theory number 4 now. So the 3 theories we've talked about so far, all unlikely, if not totally, not happening in this special session. Theory number 4 is another big one that dropped out of nowhere, and that's one nation, one poll. A lot of politics, Poulomi, has happened over one nation, one poll. 3 or 4 days of angry debates have taken place, but no word from the government itself, even though the government in the past has talked about the benefits of one nation, one poll. A panel has been formed to look into this, headed by, former President Ramnath Kovind, Poulomi. So one wonders whether ONOP could be one of the things on the agenda in this session of Parliament.
Again, categorically denied by sources that I've spoken to. Like you said, a committee has just been formed. Former President Ramnath Kovind is heading that committee. It's an 8-member panel. Of course, Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary chose to withdraw from that panel. So currently 7 members. What sources are telling me is that they estimate that this committee could take at least 3 years to come up with its report. It's going to be a long, drawn-out process where they'll speak to a lot of stakeholders. The government itself has said that if at all it has to move forward with this agenda, which it wants to move forward with, it has to seek the political consensus of, state chief ministers, governors, all political parties as well, before they finalize as to how, they're going to make this happen, the modalities of it in terms of state elections, in terms of Lok Sabha elections. So there's a lot that needs to be discussed. At least 5 different articles of the Constitution will have to be amended for this to become possible. You have to think about the resources holding elections with as many VVPAT machines, EVMs across the country at the same time. Huge expenditure in terms of, deployment of security forces, poll officials. Again, all of these nitty-gritties need to be discussed. So it's going to be a while before this committee indeed comes up with a report, Shiv.
Okay, so two theories are unlikely. 2 theories are categorically not happening. And you've got theory number 5, which we're coming to right now, which is also a very interesting one, Poulomi, which hasn't been, discussed or debated before. But this is something that our political bureau has been picking up over the last few days. And that pertains to the possibility of a quota announcement, an OBC quota announcement. Poulomi, this would be big if it happened, because we're just months away from a large cycle of elections where something like this would be, would have a huge impact as well. The many things, politically speaking, that have been happening over the last few weeks and months, leading into the Karnataka elections and thereafter, have led one to believe that some big announcement concerning OBCs, possibly even a quota, is one of the theories.
Well, for this particular theory, Shiv, I've not got a categorical no. But, you know, the fact is Justice Rohini Commission just submitted that report on the 1st of August to the President, after which, of course, it has reached the Ministry of Social Justice, and they are going to review what the committee report actually states. Again, it's a very tedious process over years of work put together, after which the commission actually came up with this report. You're talking about subcategorization of OBCs in order to ensure, you know, that there is the right kind of, you know, benefits that are meted out, and of course, in terms of government schemes as well. So the government will take some amount of time to study this report before indeed it brings this into some sort of a fruition stage. That is going to take some time. But again, I've not received a categorical no for this at the moment, Shiv.
Okay, very interesting. Not a categorical no, not a categorical yes, but not a categorical no is even more tantalizing because we are still speculating here. Finally, theory number 6, Polami, and to our viewers, is the bill on the criminal law overhaul. Remember, new names for the laws, certain amendments to some of those laws, and a completely new set of laws as far as India is concerned. You know, out with the old and in with the new. Before I go to Polami, we actually have a scoop on that to answer this question, and then I'll get Polami in. This is the breaking news we're getting right now on the criminal law overhaul by the government. The standing panel report, standing committee, the parliamentary standing committee report will be presented on the issue of our criminal law overhaul in the winter session of Parliament and not during this special session of Parliament that starts in 1 week from now. So, Polami, that appears to answer that question, that theory number 6, criminal law overhaul, won't be happening in the special session but in the winter session.
That's right, Shiv. We're getting that information from our sources that we just spoke to. In fact, just before the show, you know, we spoke to a couple of sources who are part of the Standing Committee of Home Affairs, which is basically studying these 3 bills at this point of time. And there are many domain experts, including former IPS officers, who are appearing before the Standing Committee in order to, of course, study these 3 bills. Remember that Amit Shah, of course, introduced the bill in Parliament on the last day of the monsoon session of Parliament, and then, of course, the bill was immediately sent to the Standing Committee on Home Affairs. So some of the members, we're told, immediately, because, you know, these meetings have been happening back to back. Yesterday, today, there are already 4 meetings that have happened. Today is the 5th meeting. So some very curious members actually asked, are you pushing through, are you rushing through this bill? Asked the chair that, you know, because you want to bring this bill in the special session of Parliament. And they were told, no, this bill is intended for the winter session of Parliament, not the special session.
Okay, so unlikely, categorical no, no categorical no, and categorical no is our report card for all the speculation leading up to this Parliament session. Polami, you and I will be back here next week to see what all we got right. I'm sure we got getting everything right, because this is India's #1 political team that's going to be taking you into this special session of Parliament. And even though we don't categorically know what's happening, we can tell you that we will be the first to report it when it happens. Polami, appreciate it. Thanks very much for those sharp answers here on 5 Live. On this day next week, India's brand new Parliament building will be used for the first time by our honourable members of Parliament. A building befitting the expanding aspirations, needs and duties of a rising nation, befitting the vibrant democracy that we are. The journey leading up to the opening of our new Parliament building has been riddled with turbulence and politics. First, there were questions over lack of environmental consultations for the project. Then there was politics over construction of the new Parliament building starting during the COVID-19 pandemic. Then there was political anger over the Prime Minister inaugurating the new structure instead of the President of the country. Then there were questions over the date chosen for the inauguration, which coincided with the birth anniversary of Vinayak Savarkar. Then these were all legitimate questions, and I personally don't think asking such questions means an issue is being politicized. Also, in a country that runs on politics, all questions by default mean an issue is being politicized. So I don't think anyone should have a problem with anything being politicized. Let's get that out of the way. Now, the new Parliament building is back in focus now because the government has called a mysterious special session of Parliament. The first day, next Monday, will be the last formal use of the old Parliament building. On the second day of the special session, that is September the 19th, that's Tuesday, 1 week from now, the new Parliament building will be open to our MPs. But as you know, none of our MPs, barring a handful, know what the agenda even is. I would wager that most of the government doesn't know either what this special session is about. And I believe the questions over the suspense are justified. We've seen a lot of anger and debate over the last few days on this subject. All I can say, though, is we will know soon, and until then, we will continue to ask the questions. But I wanted to end by mentioning one final bit of turbulence that sprung up this month over this upcoming special session. It was from the Uddhav Sena, which said holding the special session of Parliament over Ganesh Chaturthi, which falls on September 19th, goes against Hindu sentiments. This comment from virtually every senior leader of the party surprised me a little. I'm now an atheist, but I know enough to know that there couldn't possibly be a more fitting day to open India's new Parliament building than on Ganesh Chaturthi. Ganesh is considered the deity of new beginnings. He is revered across all religions, not just by Hindus, for what he represents in terms of Shubha Arambh and commitment to duty. So how does kicking off the new Parliament on Ganesh Chaturthi hurt Hindu sentiments? This has confused me, especially since in this sentimental democracy of ours, Parliament is the house of the people and the people are God. I would only urge the Uddhav Sena, one of the few India Alliance members, remember, with the spine to call out the hate speech of Udayanidhi Stalin and A. Raja of the DMK, to think about this just a little further. Thanks for listening.